Welcome to That Annuity Show, the podcast that will make you an expert in explaining annuities to your clients. Give us 30 minutes each week and we'll shave hours from your client presentations. Now, here's your host, Paul Tyler.
Hi, this is Paul Tyler, and welcome to another episode of That Annuity Show. And today, I have all three of my co-hosts on. Mark, welcome.
Thanks, Paul. Good morning.
Will, glad to have you. And
as always, good to be here.
Ramsey.
Yes, excited to be here.
Excited to be here from your new location in south of us. Do you want to? We got a great guest. Do you want to do the introductions and kind of set up the discussion for the day?
Sure, Paul. I would be happy to. So today we're joined by Sara Grillo, whose working title is Financial Marketing Badass. Yes, I said it on That Annuity Show, and maybe we'll say it again. And the moral of the story today is that we've been spending a lot of time on this show talking about, what it takes to be a successful advisor in an environment that is increasingly defined by remote advice and digital marketing. And for those of you who've actually tried it out, it's not easy, right? It's a different medium for most people, and there's a lot to learn about how to project who you are and what you stand for in the context of social media. And sometimes you actually have to take some controversial positions and speak out. And Sara Grillo, who joins us today, is somebody that sets a very strong example in that. So you can read much of what she does on Advisor Perspectives, and you can visit her website. But moral of the story is, and hopefully for those of you who are watching the video, and take a look, like she focuses on expression in a very meaningful way, and we want to learn from her today, find out how the rest of us can do much of the same. So with that, Sara, please introduce yourself and tell us about what you do, why you do it, and why you approach it in the way that you do.
Hey everybody, what's up? My name's Sara Grillo, and thank you everybody for having me on the show. Really excited to be here. So basically, a lot of what I do is helping people to not be afraid to be themselves. And the reason I got into this is just, I used to be a financial advisor. I wasn't that good at it. It wasn't that I was, I'm a CFA charter holder. I have an MBA from NYU. So I got the technical part of it, but it was just that I think my personality was like, I'm much more of a creator, and it wasn't really my thing. But when I was a financial advisor, one thing I was noticing was that the sales training I got and all of the marketing seemed to be so stilted, and it just seemed to be so inauthentic, and almost as if it was just not even a real expression. It had no soul in it. And so I said to myself, I left the business. I have 4 children under 7 years old. And I survived to tell you that, but yes, I actually had all these kids. I had basically a baby every year and a half, starting from when I was about 36 years old. And so, which is the first wonder, is like all the doctors are like, this is a medical miracle right here, this woman, right? Because they always tell you, like, the older you get, harder to have kids. Anyways, you again, that's what they would say when I would show up in the tumor. They'd be like, I'd be like, by the 4th one, I was like, I can just deliver this one myself, actually, y'all. So I had my second baby, and I was still a financial advisor at that point. And I want to tell you how I started getting attention on social media. This is a really important story for all of you. I remember I had been making these videos. I had this very small YouTube channel because I had been making these videos about how to pass the CFA exam. And because I was an English major when I was in college, and passing the CFA exam was no small feat. It really was an underdog kind of a thing, where I had to start from ground zero, and I was at such a disadvantage to anybody else. And so it was a really kind of compelling story for a lot of people. Like, if she came from nothing and got this, how can I, a finance major, be in any worse position than her? And that's the first thing I would say, is that it was a story of inspiration, and it was almost like a personal story. I put so much heart into it. And so I was getting this following on YouTube. And at the same time, I was just feeling like I can't express myself as a financial advisor. They keep putting all these restrictions on me, and like it takes so long to get my stuff through compliance, and I want to write, I was voluminous, like I want to make videos every day and write blogs, and it wasn't in the cards, because at that point, keep in mind too, this was a while ago. And you financial advisors listening, I think you are really in a good position compared to where I was, because this was 5-6 years ago, and there were so many more restrictions. There weren't the technical tools to help insurance companies and to help financial advisor firms to track this stuff that there is now. But I remember, so I had to leave the job actually, because I was, not a great financial advisor, not inspired, it didn't really speak to me. And I just was like, I got to do something. I know something else is calling me. And I listened to myself. I just listened. And I remember sitting there in my living room saying, I got these 2 babies under 2 years old. I got an internet connection, and that's all I got. But I don't have a whole huge recording studio. I don't have, tons of money to throw at this, but I have me. And so I just started making these videos, and I started being so responsive to I listened so acutely to the questions that people asked. And when they asked a question, I would respond to it with videos. And it worked so well, because I found that not just one person had that question, but more people were tending to have the same question. And so that's how I got started in the business. And then it just grew naturally, where I became a blogger, YouTube personality, and now I do what I do. I have, a financial audience. I help a lot of financial people with it. But what I want to say to you financial advisors out there is I want to say, get rid of the product speak, okay, right now. I want you to forget about the products. They don't care. They've already heard it. They're not interested. And the product may be, or the solution may be the end conversation, but you haven't earned the right yet. You haven't earned their attention yet. What's going to get attention is you. Okay, like everyone always comes to me, they say, oh, Sarah, I want to create an online brand. I want to do a podcast. I want to do a YouTube channel. What do I do? What about the lighting? What about the microphone? I'm sick of I'm sick of talking about the microphone with you financial advisors. Okay, you see this thing? Get a blue snowball from Best Buy for $50. And then end the beep conversation about the microphone. Okay, or the lighting, like natural light is fine. Tape the thing at noon, make sure you're not backlit, and call it a day. What I want you to focus on is the things that are in your heart, in your experience, in your life, and be a real relatable person. And then you have to represent that visually on social media. No more like pictures of you filming from your office with the bookshelf in the background, okay? I'd much rather have you filming from like the zoo that you're at with your kids and talking about, hey, look, are you a parent? I'm a parent. I'm doing financial planning right now for my own kids. And let me tell you, it's a zoo out there with all the different options that are available, and you're taping from the zoo, okay? I would watch that. I would rather watch that. I want to tell you another story, and this is just so demonstrating what I'm saying. Folks, the brand, it's you. It's you and your energy and your emotion and your personality and your soul. Bring your soul out, and I want you to forget about talking about annuities. Forget about whole life insurance. Just forget about that for a minute, okay? Now, I had this one client, and he wanted to start getting attention on social media. So he's like, do we do it? I want to write an economic update, and I want to like write a blog about the IRA transfer. And I'm like, do you have a dog? Because he had this dog. He was like kind of real fond of it. And I'm like, let's get her hooked up with social media. So we made this series. I'm not going to say the guy's name, but it was called like, I'll just call it like Benjamin and the Hound. Okay. And he made these YouTube videos with the dog in the YouTube videos. Right. And it was like amazing, because he would just be talking and the dog would be sitting there. And he used to do little cute things with it. Well, let me tell you, I mean, the first post I did was like 23 likes, people commenting, getting meetings from it right away, because also it was like a cute dog. It was a bull mastiff. Like I'm a dog person also. After having had 4 kids, I don't know I'm ever going to have a dog, because I'm so burnt out of like having to take care of other things and like mess and all this. Like it's only now that I'm getting my life back, because my baby is about 1.5 years old. So I'm not like having to always, care for like, but I loved it. It was a bull mastiff with like the wrinkles and like so cute, the little scrunchy face. It was an adorable dog.
Quick question on that. So I too have 4 kids and a dog. And we're making do, but more than making do. But anyway, the comment on this story you're telling, you said there was 23 likes, pretty quickly and whatnot. Was that just something you put on YouTube? How was that disseminated? Like, how did you get it noticed?
So, okay, we put it on YouTube, and we did not SEO optimize the content, but I will tell you that YouTube is a gift to you financial advisors, because everyone on YouTube is like so boring. I mean, there's a few people that are doing real well on YouTube. These people have SEO optimized their content. I want to be clear what that means. Let me define that. You go to Google Keyword Planner and you look up the terms that people are using when they search for different topics. So you don't go to YouTube and you don't make a video about annuity basics, okay? You don't make it, it would be, what is an annuity? Or when do I know, or something like, how do I know when it is time to buy an annuity? Should I buy an annuity? All of these things, okay? You would not just write like, so-and-so name of the annuity, because no one's going to search on that. Just like no one's going to search on Sara Grillo on YouTube, but people are going to search on how does a financial advisor get new leads? That's a keyword, right? And I'm going to tell you that it crawls. Google, by the way, is buying technologies like from the military, okay, so that they can crawl and sense what is in the content. So when you say a word in your YouTube video, if you repeat a keyword over and over again, Google hears that word and is going to categorize your content as content of that particular topic. So that's how you would get attention on Google. It has to be all about the keywords. It has to be long form content, substantial. All YouTube and Google care about is the watch time or the read time. You have to get people to stay on the page. And if you look at some of my blogs on my website, I'm not trying to get anyone to like do business with me here or anything like that. I would be cool if we could just like be friends. And I think you probably should follow me because I publish an awful lot of free stuff on this. But if you look at my blogs, I've snippeted the content. Like I'll speak on something for a paragraph or two, then I'll put a picture. Then I'll speak on something for a paragraph or two, then I'll put a video. And I'll do bulleted lists. Like I'm not going on and on droning like a Shakespearean soliloquy, okay? So that's the one thing. The second thing is how he got attention for this on LinkedIn was that he uploaded the video natively to LinkedIn. He didn't post the link, he just uploaded it as an MP4 file. Be aware, the LinkedIn algorithm is very responsive to you directing traffic away. I've recently improved my own LinkedIn algorithm results by stopping posting links as much as possible and just saying in the posting where they can find the content, I'll say like, go to my website and search in the podcast section for this title. And if you can do that and have it be effective, that is way better because all LinkedIn simply wants is for people to stay on your posting. They want people to stay on the post and click and read and share and comment on the posting. So we had a great picture of the man with his dog. Okay, we didn't have the whole like words and like, graphics and impersonal. I mean, people love to look at faces. In fact, on some of my YouTube thumbnails, I actually will superimpose 2 pictures of my face. Okay, the same picture of my face 2 times on a thumbnail just to attract more attention.
Hey, Sarah, quick follow-up on that. So are you primarily working with financial professionals that are wanting to blog, prospect, stay in contact with existing clients, or all of the above?
All of the above. We had a really good time of things during the crisis because this is awful to say, but the truth of the matter is that I actually had my best 3 months on record consecutively during the crisis. And let me tell you, that was like, see the gray hairs, okay, emerging because I had to be home with my kids, a lot of them. Well, my business was exploding at the same time. Let me tell you, I almost had a nervous breakdown, but I did survive. Teleteaching, oh my God. Anyways, but so we had a great time during the crisis with messaging because people are not as reachable via Messenger right now because it's kind of like the dog days of summer, but you can also do great with LinkedIn Messenger. So what I tell people is your clients are, a lot of people like these advisors is, I've never done marketing before, but I've been in business 20 years. It's like have the foundation. You are all set up. What I would tell you to do is start connecting with your clients on LinkedIn, and then start looking to who they're connected with. Ask them to share your updates. Create a little kernel list, and every time you post an update, tag each of your clients and have them share the posting with their network. That is a great way to get started. Financial advisors, don't overlook what you already have. You have relationships of trust and people that you communicate with on a regular basis. You have more than I had when I was sitting there with 2 babies and an internet connection. I had nothing.
Yeah. So
I just want to say, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, Will, you've been holding out on us on the dog. So we're going to have the dog on next time. That'll up our listens and likes. So,
Yeah, I'll have to check with the compliance department about that.
But it would be a perfect opportunity. The dog days of summer.
Look, this is great. You should be marketing. Oh, you are. Oh, so just help us connect. So I'm an advisor. I haven't done much of this stuff. And Sarah, we've got some interesting stories of our own where these advisors are creeping out into this new territory. And we were just on a Facebook live stream with an agent who told us, wow, I'm actually selling $500,000 annuity contracts via webcam, and I'm not going back. So,
right.
So tell me, I have a dog. Like, how did you connect the dog with my business? Was the connection about me and you happened to know that I was a financial advisor? What was the hook that got people setting up appointments? Was it just story about dog, or was it story about dog and somehow creeped into, annuities? Tell us, how did he bridge that gap with the video?
Well, yeah, I mean, he had the dog in the video and he was just like, hey, me and my dog here are going to be covering every week. We're going to be coming to you with an engaging video about, so like retirement basics.
Okay.
And I see, there's the thing about it, like, don't think too much about that. And I think, because here's the thing about you financial advisors, you're all very analytical. And so it's like, this has to be perfect and that has to be perfect and this and that. It's like, people don't actually care if the dog is connected or not. Like, some people might care, but they're not really into you or into your message. They're kind of looking for ways. Those are the skeptics. Understand, you're going to have to let a certain amount of people go. Just let them go. If somebody objects to you having a cute, adorable little bull mastiff with the cheekies, if someone has an objection to that, then let them go. They can follow somebody else who's boring, but they never will, because they're not down with it.
I like how you hit on the component of being genuine and how people connect with that, because I believe, I was a financial advisor myself for 4+ years, and I also kind of walked away from it into a different arena.
Right.
For similar reasons to you, but for others. But I do think that the people that I connected with the most became my best clients, and there's a connection there. It was more than just the products I offered or the advice that I had, that I had been trained on. It was definitely there was a connection that's important.
Yeah, exactly. So, for example, my best client when I was a financial advisor, the best client I ever had as an advisor was a woman who had a baby boy about 6 months before I was pregnant at the time that I met her, and I was pregnant with a boy. And so we just had that connection. And also the dynamics of like her relationship with her husband were kind of like the dynamics of myself and Antonio. And so we just totally connected over that. Interestingly, I mean, the strongest connection ever that I've ever had with anybody.
So I think the other thing that's really interesting about your own sort of origin story is how much you can sort of magnify who you are from what feels like a small space. So you said you had a microphone, you had an internet connection, you had already had a full-time job of taking care of 2 kids, and yet you were able to start this on this magnificent journey. And what's interesting is right now in the middle of the COVID crisis, this is a reality that way more people are realizing, whether it's because they lost their job, or even if they have their job, they now actually have to do that job from a confined space with similar constraints. So I think that, there's one really big takeaway from my perspective of many here is this ability to sort of really magnify yourself and your message if you can figure out the right way to do that. And that's what, that's what we're hoping to get from you more and more, is how to do that. Your observation about LinkedIn, that putting something in your link into your post that navigates away from LinkedIn penalizes you. I had never really thought about that, but I have to say I'm seeing that in my numbers. So thank you for that.
Well, I learned it the hard way. Okay, Ramsey. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah. So Sarah, what's the process? So I'm an advisor. Oh my gosh, I've got to make some change here. My prospects are drying up. I can't hold these seminars in place. How do I find my voice? How do I don't have a dog, I don't have much hair. I don't have a dog,
Right.
Where do I start?
Well, what you should start with is your best clients. You should think about the relationship that you have with them and what they connect with so strongly to you. And I think if you do that, you'll find that it's probably more or less for the same reason. And the other thing is, you'll notice that they may not have the same profession or the same financial background or makeup, but they're probably going to have a lot in common in terms of their mindset. So, okay. And so this is what I would say is, there's no hard and fast answer like, well, every advisor should do something about like water skiing. You know what I'm saying? That would be so inauthentic of me to tell you. And so what I want to emphasize here is that the answer is within you. But you advisors are going to have to go into the stillness and the silence, and you're going to have to take a pause, and you're going to have to shut out everybody, because all the marketing people, like, they're great at marketing. And this is where I fault the marketing community as much as I fault financial advisors for a lot of the inauthentic marketing that I'm seeing. I think you have to shut a lot of these people out that are interested in taking the step before the truth of your soul has been reached. And I sound like I'm selling like a yoga retreat here, but the truth of the matter is that the best way I can say it is that there is a voice within you, but you have to go to a still place and think about what people are connecting with to you. And so I can't say the answer, but what I can say is you have to pause for a minute, just a minute, okay? And I promise you that when you go back, that the LinkedIn algorithm people and the SEO people will still be there, okay?
That's great. Another one, look, I've got a little bit of time. I wrote a blog. Sorry, I didn't get any likes. Like, what? I just did what you did. I found my inner self. I wrote one blog and I didn't get any. How long do I have to keep at this before I'm going to start to see results? Is this tomorrow? I write something once and put it out and I'm done.
Okay, so if you're an advisor with an existing client base, what you should be doing is you should be mobilizing that. I created what's called the crisis marketing plan, where I basically had my advisors doing one webinar a week and one newsletter a week to advertise that webinar to their existing clients. And what I found is, in one of the cases, one guy who actually did it every single week had like an amazing pipeline within like a few months. So one thing I wouldn't overlook is the fact that although we very much can take advantage of social media, your newsletter may be the link between your social media and where you are now. So one thing that's very good about the newsletter is that if you're using software, you can assess who's reading and clicking and who's not. So, I mean, yes, there is a certain amount of trial and error, and I would be very remiss to kind of present to you an image of myself as getting right everything on the first try. I mean, I've had such mess ups. Good ones. I mean, real good ones. Okay. And
tell us one.
Okay. I will tell you the worst marketing mistake I've ever made in my entire life. It was recently, actually, a few months ago. I had this webinar and we had done a dry run, but it was using GoToMeeting. And I'm so burnt over this, I will never use GoToMeeting again. I'm still having like a little trauma over this that I haven't resolved. I should go on Oprah. But anyways, I had this webinar and they were having me speak, and we had done a dry run, but we hadn't tested the software. And because we had gotten so preoccupied with what the content was. It was this classic case of like content versus form. I had just been focused on the message. I did all this research. I did research and surveys of the client base that I was going to be doing this for. And I had all my notes and everything. And it came to go. It was time to go live. And all of a sudden, my slides won't come up. the slide deck won't come up. Because what had happened was there was a pop-up that wasn't, that was restricted by my computer settings, I believe. And so it was this whole thing where the presentation just basically started off badly. It went badly the whole entire time. And on top of that, I was having internet connectivity issues where the audio was going in and out. And I actually ended up not even being able to get paid for the webinar because the guy was like, I'm not even paying you for this. Okay. So, and it's not even the pay aspect of it. I just said that to demonstrate like how badly it went in the face of the client. I mean, I definitely learned a lot of lessons from that and have upped my game a lot ever since. But that is one, I mean, I think all of us that are in a live situation always would have fears about losing it and losing control in front of a live audience. But that was like my worst fear come true.
But what about one that was maybe on content? So that was a situation where you probably had the content right, but this small technical glitch ended up sort of disrupting things. Are there any situations where you had a message that went wrong? Because what's going to end up happening is that everybody listening to this is going to follow your advice, and they're going to go out and they're going to send out a message, and then some of them are going to flop, or they're going to get haters or something. How can you help them navigate that, sort of eventuality? Because they can't fear that. Like, they can't follow this journey unless they're willing to actually have a few misses. Tell us about that.
So what happened was, and this is just it's even like painful to think about now, but it was the story I was telling y'all before we started, which was that on Advisor Perspectives, I once wrote this blog about how a lot of times when financial advisors write books, they shouldn't be writing them because they're just the same old cliched jargon, boring garbage. And I shouldn't have been so absolute. Like, I said it was a tremendously catchy title of the blog. The title of the blog was Why Advisors Should Never Write Books. Which is not true, because there are some financial advisors that have done really well with it. But let me tell you, it was a viral posting. Like, I got so many people read it. But at the same time, if you want to talk about being hated on, like, there were people that were literally like, they were personally attacking me, because this is the attack that everybody does to me when they get mad at something I've said. They say, well, yeah, so Grillo, how about you? How about you as a financial advisor? You couldn't make it in our business. So how come you can advise us on marketing when you couldn't even do what we do successfully? That's what they all say. And like I said earlier, the reality of it is that I wasn't a great financial advisor and wasn't very interested in it. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of a nervous wreck about money to begin with. So for me to have to advise other people, like, I remember when the market would go down, I was just not emotionally like stable enough to even handle it. Like, I was lucky I didn't get myself like into real trouble when the market went down with clients, because I just was not able to even handle it. But anyways, what happened with this particular blog was that people were inflamed. But for as many people that were inflamed, there were other people that were like, she kind of has a point. And it sparked so much debate that what happens is when you say a message and it's so absolute and targeted, and so when you make an absolute statement, like a strong statement like that, you're going to get some people that are going to really diametrically oppose you. But then you're going to get a lot of people who are like, yeah, she's kind of being a jerk, but I see her point. And those are actually the most valuable people. And the other thing you have to remember about this is these embarrassing moments, they do fade, and like, people don't care. Like, people are so self-obsessed that they're just on to the next thing. And so for maybe, I mean, the obviously, like, the exceptions are the real stuff you can't mess up on, which is like, for example, Ken Fisher. Like, ain't nobody gonna forget about what Ken Fisher said, right? So there are some places you just can't go, but we all know that you can't go there, right? I'm talking about normal marketing mishaps. Like, it'll be over in a week, okay? If you could post something like the worst picture where you're like, you look awful, and I've posted these things all the time, like, you look awful, nobody likes the posting, no one likes the meaning of it, delete the posting. Like, it's not going to kill you, okay? It's not like,
hey, Sarah, on that,
in terms of being edgy and also not crossing the line. So I think what happens is a lot of agents and advisors, default to product and analytics because they want to build credibility. So they almost want to go out and show like what they know to the marketplace. But at the same time, to your point, an edgy statement or, or comment is going to get attention. And to that extent, I guess the followers that you have post that one you just talked about, have you seen an increase in those following your content because of that?
Because of my edginess?
Well, because of that, and even the way you.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like absolutely. I mean, okay. Negative attention is still attention.
Right. Right.
I'm going to tell you what happens a lot too. Here's what happens. A lot of times the people that do not agree or downright hate me and vehemently oppose me, a half a year later, a year later, will be liking my updates. And I'll message them and I won't say anything about how they hated me. And I'll be like, oh, thank you so much for your update. And they'll be like this. Numerous people have said this to me. I think we connected way back about a year ago when you posted something I didn't agree with, but I'm really enjoying your writing and, blah, blah. Like you see what I'm saying? It's like
your haters, right? That's yeah.
Because the emotion, okay? Emotion fades. Unless you say something that people really logically unless you do one of the bad ones, right? The real bad things. Like if you're just, you got to do it right. You have to do this highly emotionally, but it does fade over time. And those people are actually easier to convert.
How do you, so I've seen a lot of advisors or financial professionals say, hey, yeah, I'm going to start a blog. And then you go on their website and the last time they posted was 2 years ago, or like they don't seem to have the stamina or they don't continue. How do you bridge that gap? So you recognize, we all recognize that there's this avenue that financial advisors have, whether digital, YouTube, whatever, writing blogs, but actually sticking to it to make sure that you have the stamina to kind of make it work. How long do you have to go and to see traction in your mind? And what do you, like you said, you mentioned once a week posting, what's the, how do you advise folks to get going and like pick up speed and really go?
Well, I just want to say like very candidly that a lot of you financial advisors really shouldn't even be blogging. Okay, I'm going to tell you why. If you want to get attention and get your blog to rank on Google, it really has to be a long blog. It really has to be like over 1,000 words, 2,000 if you could make it, because then you can, in the correct ratio, you don't want to stuff or overly saturate, but you can correctly place keywords into that blog in the correct ratio so that Google will like it. It will still flow, but Google will have understanding of what the blog's about and be able to rank you for it. Now, I don't know too many advisors that are going to be writing 1,000 words. For an advisor to sit down and consistently write 1,000-word blog, I think you really have to be inspired. So to the advisor that has tried to blog and has let it go, I would say there's one of two things you could do. If you yourself, if you just want to be the one doing it, you don't want to hire anybody, the blog's not working, it's not working, you have to let it go. You should do something else. Like you should start posting selfie photos. You should start doing little video clips. You should start doing a phrase of the day on social media, something else that speaks to you, because it doesn't speak to you enough to carry you. If you're not, if it's just that if you are inspired, but you just are literally kind of like a crazy person like me with a lot going on, then what you need to do is you need to hire a ghostwriter or a copywriter. Now, I myself am a ghost and a copywriter, and I will tell you that it doesn't work well a lot of the times unless the advisor can put their original thoughts into it and make it interesting and do this. So the advisor must create an outline to direct the copywriter. If you allow the copywriter to just write the blog, it's going to sound like a copywriter's blog. It's going to sound like someone that's not, it's not going to carry your brand or your authenticity, or if there's not going to be high value to it, you may as well not do it. So this is not the typical marketing answer. I know a lot of marketing people are going to say, oh, that's great, everyone should blog. Like, no, I think you should do what speaks to you. And it's got to be, again, like go to the voice. Be still and find the voice.
Well, I think that's tremendous advice. Go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say, so I'm an annuity agent, really just trying to get into marketing in a different way. Historically, let's say my marketing campaign was always doing client seminars, which obviously has gone by the wayside as of late. Knowing the average annuity buyer is 65 and usually retired, so LinkedIn might not be the outlet source for them. How would I break into the marketplace of doing this? What's the best path or avenue to go down?
I would do email newsletters. I would remember you have to have like the software that will allow you to see who's opening and clicking, because you're not going to get maybe people coming back to you right away being like, I want a meeting. I read your newsletter. I want a meeting. But you need to spy on them by seeing who's opening and clicking and then paying more attention to those people. So like if they're opening and clicking, then you go find them on Facebook and connect with them. Then you maybe send something to their business. Then you maybe go buy a product that their business sells, something like that. Okay. You need clarity and information, the feedback that the email newsletter software can give you. But you can do newsletters that are tremendously engaging, like, and I know that 60-year-olds and older do, like, they will be more responsive to email newsletter. So you can do great newsletters, like I just did one, my newsletter today, for example, was financial advisor sales funnels bite. And I had this picture of me with the leopard in the background, like with the leopard's head right near my head, like I'm going to get bitten, right? But it was a selfie photo of me with, and like I put a quote, I put a little, like a quote box, and I put a quote next to it saying something really, really insightful that makes people feel they're smarter after they read it. So a selfie photo of me with a quote, open up the newsletter that way. Then 2 paragraphs, okay? Like 2 little paragraphs in the newsletter. Then a bulleted list, tell them something, then call to action at the end. I'm having this webinar. Would you join me? See who clicks.
Great, thank you.
This is great. Ramsey, wow, you bring a guest. Look how fast the time went.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We're almost the end of time here. What are some other thoughts? I mean, wow, Sarah, this is awesome. I guess my first question is, you sold me. How can I use you? You know, I'm an advisor. How can I reach you? How can I find you?
Well, I think y'all should just follow my podcast. It's saragrillo.com.
We will.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I have different products I sell, but I'm sure that if people are interested and they see the value in them, then that'll come about as a result of listening to my podcast. But I just really want people to be helped, and my podcast is really helpful. I upgraded it recently to make it a lot better. So
oh, that's great.
Is it every week?
Yeah.
We'll definitely check it out.
Look forward to it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, this will be Ramsey. What are your thoughts? What are your takeaways here?
So a lot of things. As I mentioned before, this idea of tremendous ability to leverage one's existing skills and personality through the internet, and to not be afraid to do it, and most importantly, once you've sort of gotten past that, like, understand you can make mistakes along the way, and it sounds like it's really important for everybody to move away from the technical pieces and really focus on authenticity and personality. And then the last piece, there is still a technical part of it, which is really getting your arms around what the algorithms are going to pick up. And I think that's still very hard. That's still very hard to do. Sarah, it sounds like you spent a lot of time doing that. It sounds like that's something you could help people on: keyword identification, understanding sort of some pitfalls like that. That LinkedIn tip you threw out there is definitely sticking with me. So again, thank you very much for that. And it's been wonderful to have you on. And we hope to be able to check in with you another time, later this year.
Mark, Will, any final thoughts here?
No, I really, really appreciated your comments. And what really came through to me is the importance of authenticity, and you can be authentic through videos, through social media, in other ways. And I think folks think sometimes you need to be staring across the table at someone. But I think your authenticity can carry through, whether that's through video, or through a go-to meeting, like you said, or well, maybe that one.
No, go-to meeting.
We're not disparaging go-to meeting, by the way, on this podcast. But that aside, I do think that is really, really a true component, and folks should. I liked your commentary as well about kind of taking a step back and thinking about the things that in your character that allow you an opportunity to connect with others, just on a personal level or a human level, and then leveraging that as you explore and you delve into this area with your clients and as you try and build business. It's really, really critical and important.
Yeah, and I think, first off, I think we'll look for a new backdrop on our next podcast, because I think I violated one of the first don'ts that Sarah said with the bookcase behind me. And I noticed when you made the comment, Will starts shifting over, blocking the globe in the back of his backdrop as well. But I think the authenticity is huge. And I think a lot of times what happens is people get into the default pattern of wanting to go out and show how much they know and build their credibility. I think that making that real human connection is absolutely critical. And it's funny talking about the things you can't control with technology. I know when we did our Facebook Live last week, the agent we had on was talking about challenges that he had, where they'll say, let's just drop it and make a phone call. And in fact, in that same episode, Paul's internet locked up, during the Facebook Live.
I've got this great thing to show you. Boom.
Right. So it's really just kind of building that personal connection, and the rest of it really doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that having high quality internet is one threshold issue, though. I mean, I was on a panel recently, a national panel, and they said I was fading in and out, and it was just one of those. There was like a storm. You can't control it, but I do think your point about get the technology in place and don't worry about it. Your opening comments about it's not get the lighting right, get the technology right, get the connection right, and move on. But you got to have those right.
Yeah. So saragrillo.com. Okay. LinkedIn, you're all over the place, Sarah. Everybody, podcast, we'll be subscribers. We'll be your next subscribers on your podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. Mark, Ramsey, Will, thanks so much for hosting this show for us. And be sure to tune again next week for another great episode of That Annuity Show. Thanks.
Take care, girl.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed the show, please rate and recommend us on iTunes, Stitcher, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more information at thatannuityshow.com.